Hey everyone, so if you own a home here in San Diego, I'm betting you've got a running list of those annoying little house problems you just walk past every single day. You know the ones: a sticking door, a cracked piece of drywall, or maybe a brand new light fixture that's literally been sitting in a cardboard box for 6 months. You know it, I know it, it's called deferred maintenance, and honestly, it can drive you crazy. Well, today, we are going to change that. I've put together this highly practical, no-fluff explainer to give you the ultimate playbook for finally getting those small home repairs done in San Diego. All right, let's dive right in.
Right. So have you ever actually tried Googling small home repair contractors near me? You leave, three voicemails and just hear absolutely nothing back? Or maybe they do finally call you back, but they quote you this completely astronomical minimum fee just to walk through your front door. It is incredibly frustrating, and I want to validate that experience for you right now. It is not just you. There's actually a very specific structural reason why this happens in the home repair industry, and it all comes down to who you are actually calling.
Well, here is the blunt truth. You are calling the wrong category of professional. It's really that simple. Those search results, they usually pull up remodelers, roofers, and full-service general contractors. And general contractors are built from the ground up for big projects. They have massive overhead, and frankly, they usually skip jobs under a few $1,000s entirely. To a general contractor, your $200 drywall patch isn't a job. It's just a rounding error on a much bigger project.
So, here is our roadmap for today's explainer. 1. Finding the right pro. 2. Handyman, contractor, or specialist. 3. California's $500 rule explained. 4. San Diego repair costs. And finally, 5. The bundling strategy.
Okay, Section 1, finding the right pro. Let's look at who handles what. The home repair market isn't just one giant bucket of workers, right? It's actually divided into very distinct tiers. And the biggest divide is the handyman versus the general contractor. A general contractor, like we just talked about, runs the larger permitted projects. Think room additions, whole room remodels, structural work, the big stuff. A handyman, on the other hand, handles what we call the broad middle of home maintenance. They are set up specifically for the small stuff: the sticking door, the wobbly railing, the drywall patch. For a handyman, these small fixes aren't an annoyance, they are the entire job. Moving on to Section 2, handyman, contractor, or specialist. So how does this build into a practical decision matrix for you? It's super simple. If the job is just general upkeep, things like drywall, caulking, swapping fixtures, and it's under $500, you call a handyman. Why? Because they're priced and staffed perfectly for small work. Now, moving down, if the job is over $500 or it strictly needs a permit, you legally need a general contractor. And this next part is absolutely crucial. If you need new wiring, repiping, or work on gas lines, you absolutely must call a licensed specialist, like a dedicated electrician or a plumber. That is all about safety and strict building codes. A truly honest handyman knows exactly where this line is and will be the first to tell you when you need a specialist.
All right, Section 3, California's $500 rule explained.
So you've probably noticed a very specific dollar amount popping up here: $500. This is absolutely the single most important number a California homeowner needs to know when planning minor repairs. Let's break down exactly what this means from a legal standpoint. Under state law, there's this provision called the minor work exemption. Basically, it states that any home improvement work with a combined cost of labor and materials is less than $500 doesn't actually require a state contractor's license. This specific legal exemption is the precise reason a handyman can legally come out to your house and handle your small repairs. But the very second a single project crosses that $500 mark for labor and materials combined, California law strictly dictates that a licensed contractor must take over.
Now hold on, because I really want to clarify a huge misunderstanding here that trips up a lot of homeowners. That $500 threshold, it is per project. It is not per hour, and it's definitely not per visit. What this means is a handyman can legally spend a full 8-hour day at your house tackling a huge punch list of small, unrelated tasks, just as long as each separate task falls under that $500 limit. What they cannot do without a license is take on one giant single project that runs past $500 total. And again, honest handymen know this rule inside and out and will enforce it to protect both of you.
Up next, Section 4, San Diego repair costs. Let's look at some real-world numbers. All right, we've thoroughly covered the legal boundaries. Let's translate this into hard, actionable data for right here in San Diego. Now keep in mind, small job pricing usually runs by the task or the half day, rather than some complex itemized project estimate. Patching a drywall hole and doing a texture match, that usually runs about $120 to $300.
Adjusting that annoying sticking interior door is usually $95 to $250. Swapping out a light fixture lands between $110 and $250. Need a tub recocked? Look at $150 to $325. Mounting a flat screen TV ranges from $130 to $300. And regrouting a section of tile typically sits right between $200 and $450.
Which brings us to Section 5, the bundling strategy. This is how you save some serious money.
So, knowing all those individual costs leads us to what I call the ultimate strategy for homeowners. Because most handymen will quote a small job for free, but still set a minimum, usually about 1 to 2 hours. A single tiny fix can actually end up costing about the same as two. Think about it. If you call someone out for one isolated tiny fix and then call them out a month later for another one, you're paying multiple trip charges and minimums. You're easily hitting $300 or more just for two basic things. But if you book a half day of mixed repairs, you're looking at a total of maybe $300 to $500, and they can knock out a half dozen things in that exact same time frame.
So here's your actual action plan, the bundling strategy. Step 1. Do not call a pro every single time one little thing breaks. Save up a punch list of completely unrelated sub-$500 repairs. A drywall patch here, a sticky door there, maybe a wobbly chair. Step 2, hire one handyman for a half-day or a full-day block. Step 3, you pay just one single trip charge and you get multiple problems solved in one afternoon. It is literally the most efficient, cost-effective way to manage your home.
But wait, how do you actually make sure you're hiring the right person for that bundled list? Well, you use a vetting checklist before they ever step foot on your property. First, explicitly ask if they will bundle a punch list into one visit. Second, request a rough price range over the phone, just to make sure you're at least in the same ballpark. Third, if you have 10 things on your list, be super clear about which fixes matter the absolute most, just in case time runs short. And lastly, confirm they respect those trade limits we talked about. And that brings me to a really fantastic piece of advice straight from our source material. A handyman who says yes to everything is a red flag. Seriously. If you ask them to patch some drywall and then casually ask them to rewire your main electrical panel and they just say sure, run the other way. An honest, highly skilled handyman knows exactly where their legal and safety limits are. They will enthusiastically handle your broad middle repairs, but they will actively tell you when it's time to call a licensed plumber or electrician.
So we've covered the different professionals, California's strict $500 rule, real San Diego costs, and the ultimate bundling strategy. The ball is entirely in your court now. Walk around your house today with a notepad. Every time you walk past that sticking door or that cracked drywall, you're actively choosing to live in a home that's just a little less than it could be. So what is on your sub-$500 punch list? Write it down, bundle it up, and ask yourself, how much longer are you going to let deferred maintenance run your life? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and go take back control of your home.